Welcome to Beast TV. What was that? You better get a fresh dip and buckle up. Larry Porst II, how you doing tonight? Larry, I can't hear you. Are you playing tricks? I cannot hear you. We're a little bit, I can see you, but I cannot hear you. So we want to welcome everyone to Beast TV, our 83rd podcast, and we're a little bit late, a couple of minutes late coming on. Larry is in a different location and having some audio problems. Are you there, Larry?
I don't.
Okay, I heard you. Wait, don't touch nothing.
I can't see nothing.
Oh.
All right. Play some beautiful bean footage or something.
Okay. We're going to let Larry get this worked out, but we are really... Working? Yes, I can hear you.
Carry on.
Okay, so you can hear me.
Yep.
You can see me.
Yep.
Am I going to have any more problems out of you tonight?
Probably.
Larry is coming from a different location, so he is having just a few problems getting hooked up. But we want to welcome everybody to tonight's podcast, and we're really excited. When we had Miss Janice Carter on, I could not believe all the questions that was coming into in the comment section after the show. We had so many questions during the show in the chat room. So what we're going to do tonight is since Miss Janice has already been on here, then we're going to go straight into questions. So if you have any questions, then put them in all caps, and I'm going to keep this up the chat where I can see it. So put them in all caps. And Larry, why don't you go ahead and introduce Miss Janice?
Well, she don't really need much of an introduction. Everybody knows the book 50 Years with Bigfoot and all that jazz. They've heard Janice's story, and we had her on about a month ago or so. But we're glad to have Janice back with us. How you doing, Janice Carter?
Oh, I'm doing fine. Thank you for having me back.
Well, we are really excited. I'm going to scroll up here.
Okay.
And we are just going to start with questions. Let's see. Okay. Filmer of bobcats. Are Blackie's offspring as bad as he is?
The oldest son is. Other than that, they're pretty mild-mannered. The rest of the family are. One of his wives is more aggressive than the other one. He has twins. Well, they're not twins, but well, they are twins, but he has sister wives, and the one who is taller is a bit more aggressive than the smaller one. But yeah, his oldest son is very aggressive.
How many offspring is there? Do you know? Or
Of his, he has 5 total, 3 boys and 2 girls. And 2 of them, the 2 of the boys are by the larger female wife, and the other ones, and the daughter are by the smaller female.
Can you give us a quick recap on who Blackie was? Who is he the offspring of?
Blackie is the twin brother to Chico, the female, out of Sheba and Fox.
Okay. And Fox is the one that your grandfather raised,
yes,
rescued.
Yeah, befriended and had all. He was the one that I ran into Lake when I was a little girl.
Okay.
Okay. Does Blackie ever mind speak to you?
Yes. He can be, my daughter's over here making faces. He can be very, I don't know how to, obnoxious. Yeah, that's a good word for it. Obnoxious when he mind speaks with you.
Okay. Just making sure that I saw one.
Okay.
And I do not want to miss it.
Janice, you think Blackie is obnoxious and mean because he was born that way, mentally something wrong, or does
I
he
don't know.
confuse?
He's been that way ever since he was about, I'd say 3 years old. Sheba really babied him when he was little, because when Chico was about, his twin sister, when she was about 3 years old, she went missing for a while. It's a long story.
Yeah.
She also had her fingers cut off in a conveyor belt that lifted the hay up into the loft at the neighbors. And Sheba got so that she was really, really attentive and babying of Blackie. So I think that he has a sort of a narcissistic type personality. I'm sorry, I have false teeth and I can't pronounce words a lot of times, but you get the gist of it. He's very self-centered, very obnoxious. It's all about him, and he can't do any wrong, according to him.
Right.
Okay, Filmer of Bobcats asked, did you say in the book that Fox was black-haired and blue eyes?
Yes, I did. Yep. I always said that if I found a man that had the blue eyes the same color as Fox, I would marry him in a heartbeat.
Okay, I'm just moving on down. I had skipped that one. Can you read that one, Larry? Can you see it?
Yeah. What is their reason for establishing a broader relationship with humans? What prevents them from being in greater contact? They can whoop any of us easily. They have the upper hand. That's from KDG.
Okay. They may have the upper hand, but the reason that they don't take and interact with us so much is because of the fact that, yes, they can be killed. People have a tendency to go out in the woods and they're scared of them. You have hunters all the time that are out there hunting with guns. They see and they know very well that, yes, some of our technology and our guns and stuff can wound and kill them. So they try to avoid us. And they also don't like the negative energy that people put off. A lot of people, if you're depressed or you're having a bad day, you put off negative energy.
I can see that.
Okay, Cheese Freak Ginger Snap asked Miss Janice, how close are you to London, Tennessee?
Loudon.
Loudon.
It's pronounced Loudon. I'm about 10 miles down the road.
It's pretty close.
Yeah, I'm really close.
All right, filmer Bobcat says, why has the main troop not eliminated Blackie and his offspring?
Because in their let's see, in their laws, the way that they operate and whatnot, in their culture and beliefs, it's against their law to actually kill one of their own, or to kill us even. So what they simply do is they shun them. They make them into a type of outcast.
All right.
Filmer of Bobcats asks, don't Sasquatch put out different energies according to mood as well?
Yes, they do. I've been around some that gave off what I call a black, dreadful feeling, and some that were just like, oh, heavenly. It depends on their mood.
Okay. Let's see.
Excuse me.
John Swan asks, do you do tours for wannabe witness such as myself?
I don't. I do and I don't. If you want to join me, I don't show, people take them out in the woods. I cannot guarantee that you're going to have a sighting because I have no control. These are people, they have their own methods, but I always say, come join me. Let's go out. Let's go see what we can see. I'll teach you how to find their signs and how to get in close enough to them where you possibly will have a sighting. And I don't charge money for it.
All right.
Okay, filmer of Bobcats, are you worried that by going public, you may expose this troop to being exterminated?
Yes, I have worried about that. That's why I try to keep the locations a secret, sort of. I'll give the general state or whatever, but I don't give exact locations except for the ones that I know, to try to prepare people not to go in there to them, because they are very aggressive and they do not care. They would take you out in a heartbeat. In those areas, I say, don't go here, don't go there, and I give specifics. But I am pretty much, people find me. I don't try to keep my location, where I live or anything, a secret, because I've done this too many years. But basically, the Bigfoot, before you ever get to their area, they know you are coming and they know your intent.
All right. Lady in the Woods asks, do they act different around people who are ill?
As in sick, or ill as in a disorder?
I would say, I don't know. Just take for instance.
Yeah, take both of them.
Yeah,
Okay.
autism or cancer or any of that type.
Cancer victims, yes, they do act differently. Bo, especially Winnie Bojo, he is what they call a healer or a medicine man. And he always is trying to give me recipes to give to these people who have fibromyalgia, for instance, cancer, stomach problems, and the list goes on and on and on. They try to be really, really helpful in that matter, if they feel that the person is good person and worthy of their help.
Okay, Spencer Jameson, it seems like you and your grandfather spent years learning parts of their language. If they can mind speak, why didn't they just communicate to you that way?
It's a little bit more complicated than that. Because yes, they can mind speak. They can mind speak all the time. And it's just like right now, I have one trying to mind speak me while I'm on this podcast, and I am ignoring them. But that being said, when you go in, and even when I was a child, I wanted to learn their language, their spoken language. I wanted to learn about their culture. And pictures and mind speaking is like a download of information all at once, and you get it mumble jumbled in your head after a certain amount of time. Therefore, it's simpler just to sit down and say, okay, explain this to me, Lucy.
All right, Katie G asks, thank you for the answer, ma'am, so we could consider that to them. We are mentally toxic and something they choose to avoid because we make them uncomfortable.
Yes, and very much so.
Okay, Hoosier Squatch Janice, any advice for us to have the best results for an encounter with them? Good question.
Okay, if you know where they are basically at, or you suspect that they are in a given area, don't be invasive. Go to that area, have a picnic. I don't care. Take a lunch. Sit out on the ground and just sit there and let them come to you. Because when you go and you're snooping around in their woods and it's their home, they're less likely to come out and show themselves and try to interact friendly with you than if you were just to sit there and let them come to you. And I don't go trace being around in the woods a lot of times, except to show people their structures and stuff. If I go somewhere, I'll sometimes just sit in the vehicle and let them come to me.
All right, Filmer Bobcats asks, can you defend yourself against mind speak attempts if you do not want to hear their thoughts?
Yes, you have to learn how to block. And by that, say for instance, okay, and I know this, I'm not trying to offend anybody by saying this. Okay, if you believe in God and you pray to God for whatever, and God answers those prayers, or you get that little voice inside your head that says everything's going to be okay, it's almost the same way, but not quite. And if you don't have time to listen to that little voice, or even to your own conscience, when it tells you, hey, you're doing something wrong or you're doing something good, it's about the same way. So you just block it out. It's like, I don't have time for this right now. Adios, amigos.
Good answer. Dwayne Ayers asks, how do they dispose of their dead?
The ones here from Florida up and out to the Texas Gulf Panhandle and up into northern Maine and over to Iowa actually bury their dead.
Do any of them actually eat their dead?
There are cannibalistic ones, yes.
Okay, Spencer Jameson asks, what signs do you look for to suggest that they are in a specific area?
Okay, myself, I don't look for signs. I just know when they're there. But the best thing to do is look for what we call ground sticks. And those are going to be sticks that are not natural weather-related trees falling in the woods. They're going to have them stuck into the ground a good 6 inches to 3 feet in the ground. and they're going to look like a leaner. Also, this picture that's up right now, this is an X that's on the ground, and it tells me that, hey, you need to go this way, that way, and this is where the clans. Here on the left-hand side is a marker of, this is actually a grave marker, but it's right side up and upside down. But we look for those type of signs, and they usually are close to a roadway or a logging road or a pathway that they use.
Okay.
Here's another indication that they're there. That did not fall there. There is no trees around. That this is a natural tree fall, branches from a tree.
Tom Paul Cajun asked, Miss Janice, do you see lights or orbs on the property?
Yes.
Would you like to elaborate? Is there any connection between them and orbs?
Yes, there is a connection. They give off a energy of their own. They can create these orbs. It's their essence, and they send it forth sort of like to probe you and to examine you or to examine the area that they're in. It's like a little guiding light that they have. Some of these orbs can be humongous.
Wow.
All right. Roxanne asked, have you ever researched in New Mexico? And if so, have you encountered any troops?
Yes, and yes. This is Leonard Dan. He's Chief Dan. He is a Navajo Dine, and he is a good friend of mine. And yes, I have been to New Mexico and now into the area. I will say this. The terrain is very rough in parts of Mexico, New Mexico.
Yeah.
Okay, filmer of bobcats. Is Bo a Sasquatch, the medicine man?
Yes, I talk about them like they're people because they are a people. But yes, he is a Sasquatch, Bigfoot, whatever you choose to call them. But they're the big, hairy, giant, big people. Forest people.
All right. Filmer Bobcat says, do they recognize that a picture of Sasquatch on a t-shirt is a depiction of them?
Yes, and they don't like it.
Well, that's good to know, because most
Yeah,
people are out in the woods looking for them.
they really don't like the depiction of the Bigfoot. It's the silhouettes and stuff that we see on the t-shirts or on the little signs that we put on our bumpers or whatever, on our vehicles. They really don't like that. They sort of take offense to it because
Right.
they think we're making fun of them.
Oh,
okay.
Sharon Guy asked, do Sasquatch teach their children in like a school form, or do they just learn from the elders?
They do teach them in sort of like a old type one-room schoolhouse nursery type structured area. It's hard to explain without pictures. And they will set them down and they teach them their history. They've got storytellers. They've got, the elders that they listen to. They teach them how to hunt. They teach them how to gather food, their history, how to draw, how to write, where they came from. And a lot of it has to do with the oral history, but it's also a written history.
Root Beer Fizz asked, do they think we are less intelligent as a whole or just some of us?
Okay, this is going to get me in trouble. They think we're stupid. I don't know how many of them have called us stupid humans. I've almost gotten myself in trouble on podcasts before because they would be in my head and someone would ask a question and they'd say, humans are so stupid. And I almost blurted out, because I'm listening to them and, um, they called Igor for a long time because Igor has issues. He cannot mind speak with them, and they can't seem to get him to understand them, even when he actually is, when they're mind speaking with him. So they call him a wooden head all the time.
A wooden head.
A wooden head.
I've been called worse than that.
Yeah.
Yep.
I've called you worse than that, Larry.
That's true.
Okay. Tony from Fishing, Gaming, and Guitars asks, have you ever encountered a dog man? Do
Yes.
the Sasquatch know of them?
Yes. Both, yes to both. And sometimes their boundaries, territories, and whatnot overlap each other. They have a tendency to get along with them unless the dogmen are sort of imposing upon their hunting grounds and stuff, and there's not enough game and food supplies to support a whole bunch of Bigfoot and dogmen together.
Who is the more dominant? Is it Dogman or Bigfoot?
Actually, most of the time it's the Bigfoot, but every once in a while it's the dogmen. It depends on how big of a pack the dogmen are in, because dogmen are not, how to put it, they are not human, Homo sapien in any way, shape, or form. They are canine with an unknown. This is actually a picture of the dogman male on the right with the pup up on the stump. His tail is going down his back is facing us. The tail is going down the stump, and the other one is the female, and she's looking directly down into the weeds.
All right. Filmer of Bobcats asks, if you are a calm, good-natured person who means them no harm, are they as determined to avoid you?
No, they actually will interact better if you are a calm person and you're not scared of them. They do know that their appearance is scary to us, and that we are basically judgmental of people's looks. So a lot of times they won't put in a full body appearance until they're really comfortable with you and know that you're not going to judge them for their looks.
Okay, D, Lady in the Woods, asks, do you know which one is trying to talk to you?
Yes, I do, and it is actually one that we call Squeaky. He's really close to this area that I'm at. We have some woods out back and over to the side of this hotel, that the extended stay hotel in a remote area. He's maybe less than a quarter mile from me right now.
If they mind speak, how far can they mind speak? Could it be across country or countries, or?
It can be across countries. Mind speaking has no boundaries. It's not limited to time, space, or anything. They can come across from anywhere.
Connie Jelsma asks, what are they trying to say to you with mind speak now?
It's a long story. Okay. Squeaky is trying to relay that Grumpy doesn't want me to say anything about a cave system that is close by, but everybody knows of Craighead Caverns. And right now, because of the weather conditions, they're held up in those Craighead caverns right now.
Well, Squeaky failed.
Yeah, he sort of failed. I mean, it's like, okay, everybody knows where the Lost Sea is, and they're not in the main tunnel, that goes down into the Lost Sea. They're up in the back caverns on the back side, and there is an entrance to that, but getting to it is complicated for us.
Yeah.
Okay, Filmer of Bobcats. I am used to mind speaking back and forth with God, but I'm not sure I want them traipsing around in my mind.
Understandable. Understandable. And you have to know what and you are actually dealing with, if it's a Bigfoot or it's some other type of entity that isn't so good or could be evil, because there are a lot of things that are capable of mind speak. So you want to try to stay on the straight and narrow. And if you are not comfortable mind speaking with them, then don't.
Are you able to block them out if you need to?
I am, but that doesn't mean that everybody else is. For instance, my research partner, William Henry, has a really, really complicated time. At first, he did not mind speak with them, and they didn't so much mind speak with him. But now it's like a total bombardment, and they're in his head all the time, and they're having him go. He gets really excited, so he's sort of going off in every direction but the right, you know. Um, and it's sort of funny to watch, but I'm like, okay, William, focus, focus, you know.
Deborah Irvin asked if they can sense intent, would they still kill people who have good intent?
Most of them would not. And they're not really, for the most part, most of them are not really out to kill you. They're just out to get you to leave their area and leave them alone if they don't want to interact with you. I've been in some really hairy situations, and I call it hairy, where the Bigfoot in a certain location did not want to have anything to do with us whatsoever.
Okay, my thing just scrolled down to the bottom. Let me.
Trouble.
Yeah.
Janice, do you think as time goes on that they will have more of a relationship with us and be open to speak with us, or do you think this is the way it's going to be?
Okay. In the 20 years that I have been public and openly speaking and trying to prove that everything I have ever said was the honest to gosh truth about them, to bring knowledge and enlightenment and understanding and educate people that these are not some big dumb stupid ape running around in our forest that we can't find half the time, but they are an intelligent type of people. I have watched this research go through from the great ape camp to, yes, they are a people and they have culture, they have language, they have all this other, the DNA testing that was done. While we were suppressed and Melba could not come forward with that, and the other scientists could not come forward with that. It is what it is. They are a type of people. They aren't Homo sapien like we are, but they are still a type people.
Yeah.
And I think that eventually what is going to happen, because we keep encroaching upon their territory, upon their lands, they're not going to have a choice but to come out and interact with us.
Okay.
Okay. If I have jumped and missed your question, this chat will not let me scroll any further up. So if I have missed your question, then please retype it. Now, Chris, are you still crazy? And we're glad that you're doing better. How does the troop put Blackie in his place when he is bad?
Blackie is basically on his own. The times that they do interfere with him is when he comes close to some of the locations that they are in, and he tries to get at people like us or me or my daughter or William or whoever's out there. Then what they will do is they will intervene and get between him and sort of run him out away from the area. They don't. They do get in physical fights.
Are they connected mentally where they know when Blackie is going to do something, or do they have to physically see him doing something malicious toward y'all?
No, they're actually connected.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Kirk Seltzer asks, do they have large populations underground in the cave systems? And thank you for all you do.
Oh, thank you. Yes, they do have, they do make use of the underground cave systems and the caverns. There are larger populations than what people think that there are. Um, it's like in one area here, I know that there's like 750 individuals.
That's a lot.
That's a lot.
Okay. Bale asks Janice, how do they treat any of their own that are born with a minor or severe physical or mental disability? That's a great question, Bale.
They take care of their own, and the ones that have a physical disability are put on like a pedestal, and the other ones will take care of them. They think that they're special. Also, if one of us has some sort of disability, they consider us special. They're more likely to come in and interact with us and be very protective of us if we do have a type of disability. I had a friend, he is deceased now, that was a deaf mute. And while I talk about The Simpsons a lot, while The Simpsons would bluff charge us, beat on our cars, throw trees down in front and in back of us, trying to block our entryway or our exit to their area, they're just a bunch of pains in the butt. This bunch of group of Bigfoot, they would not harm Rodney. He could walk right out there, walk right up to one, and they would never offer to harm him. They were, and then if they thought that one of us was doing something wrong to Rodney, it could be just trying to take him by the arm and get him out of harm's way of them. They would react accordingly toward us because they thought we were hurting Rodney.
Mark?
Is that mine?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, you just gave that one to me because I can't pronounce that name.
That's
So
right.
I'm just going to say a Sasquatch. Do they
Okay.
do they participate in rituals or ritualistic activities?
Yes, a lot of them are very indigenous type people, rituals and activities, like the Aboriginal people of Australia, or the Native Americans here in the States, or the indigenous people from, you know, down in South America or up in Canada, in Alaska.
All right. Donna Stokes asks, what do they like to be called? Can't like Bigfoot.
They like to be called, their language translated, it's called Nomina, which means the people. They like to, so if you're using English, just call them the people.
The people.
Yep.
Okay. Mike Stinton asked, have you ever experienced infrasound?
Yes. It is not a pleasant feeling at all. I've been blasted with it. It's made me physically sick. I do try to block it, and I thank God I'm partially deaf, or else I would really get a double dose as far as the hearing goes. But it's like your insides are it's hard to explain this feeling. It's like a laser beam that you can feel on the inside of you, probing you or scanning you. I don't know how to explain it, but it makes you sick. You can become disoriented, confused, lose time, have a ringing in your ears. It can even put you on the ground. And I'm not kidding. I mean, it's very, very bad. Um, our bodies react accordingly. Therefore, you can pass blood from your urine or your bowels. You can even throw up blood. You get nosebleeds. I've even had my eyes, the blood vessels in my eyes, bust because of it.
Wow.
Wow.
So this is not a joke. This is for real.
All right. Quick Witty asks, do you have any pictures of these beings?
Yes.
That's a good answer.
Yeah.
Well, I tried to send you guys some to put up, but it didn't work. I mean, you got them, but we didn't have time to get them up. It's okay.
Kurt Seltzer asked, have there ever been like a civil war between themselves? I guess he's talking about maybe troops or maybe a conflict in
Yeah.
the troop.
Yes, there has been. I wouldn't call it a civil war like us fighting with guns or ammunition or anything. But yeah, they do battle, and it can get pretty brutal.
All right. Warren Hastings asked, in their history, did they ever get along with man?
Yes.
And that was before us European white men got over here, wasn't it?
Well, as far as this country, yes, it was before the Europeans came over. They got along with the native peoples of America very well. They did. Some of them were rogues. I mean, you have all walks of life in every society. They did steal Native American women and children a lot, even men. And yes, there were times that they probably killed them or whatever. I mean, take Albert Austin, for instance. He was kidnapped back whenever it was. It was before my time, but he managed to escape. That said, they claim that before here in America, that over in Europe, that they interacted with us going back to biblical times, to Sumerian times, to Mesopotamia, that we simply have forgotten that they were a type of people.
Yeah.
Okay, David Blaylock asked, if you cannot pronounce the native sounding language properly, will they still respond?
Yes. Just speak to them in whatever language you use. For instance, it's like the ones over there in Ural, Russia, that Igor and his colleagues and I are trying to, we've established interaction, good relations for the most part, except with death. But anyway, he's, I don't know, he's different. But that being said, I don't speak Russian. My Russian is very limited. I understand it better than what I speak it, but we have put them on the speakerphone like we are here, and they'll be talking, and heaven to Betsy, they do go into English. And how in this world do they know English in Russia and Ural? But they talk to us, and I know it's them doing it. It's not somebody pulling some stupid prank on me, So they understand.
Some woman named Debbie Jones asked, do they talk to you even when you are very far away? Is it always your clan speaking to you?
No, not always my clan, and yes, they do, Debbie. I know Debbie. They do talk from very far away. Yes, even mine speaking from very far distance.
Okay.
Is it ever just some random one that you may have come into association with, or? or is it always some you have a relationship with?
I do get them from random ones. For instance, there's a lady that is up in Michigan that I've been helping out, and she said she was going to be on the podcast tonight listening. Her name is Jean, and she had a really disturbing encounter with them when she was a child. She now has them in her area, and while I had no clue about her clan, the clan that was in the area or what they were doing, they did come to me and mine speak with me, and I could tell Jean what was going on and what to expect from them. Now, Jean is very, very empathic, and she picks up on them too.
Yeah.
Okay, Mike Murphy, Miss Janice, when they speak, can they sound like wild pigs and or a large cat?
Yes, yes. They do something, and I'm going to demonstrate this. So please do not think that I'm a weirdo, but I learned how to do this by way of them. They make this sound that goes, I don't know whether y'all can hear that or not.
Yeah.
It's a clucking in the back of the throat.
Okay, Debbie Jones asks, can dog men or man dogs mind speak?
They can, but it's not so much in words. It's more of in pictures, if that makes sense. It's like if you was okay. I know this is gonna sound crazy, but say for instance that I'm mind speaking with my cat or my dog. My dog or my cat doesn't necessarily give me words, but they will give me pictures of what they want, what they're trying to convey to me.
All right. A filmer of bobcats, do they have any awareness or understanding of world current events?
Yes, they do. This COVID pandemic, they were very aware of it. They had some of us that interact with them on a more personal level um, go out and get them all kinds of vitamin C, selenium, uh, peanuts, you name it, because they were very aware. And at the time when it first was outbroke back there in February of last year, they weren't able to get to some of the medical herbs and stuff that they use because of the winter time. Only the ones in the southern states were able to get to some of those. So yeah, they were very aware of it. Now, as far as world events go, like, okay, we've got a new president and this, that, and the other, they care less about that stuff.
Right. So
They were aware that Oklahoma, the governor of Oklahoma was going to have open season on them for hunting, and they were very concerned about that. But that bill did not go through.
all right. A filmer of bobcats, are dog men something we should consider enemies?
I would not consider them enemies because most of them are shy-like type creatures. They're just like wolves in the forest or coyotes in the forest, although the coyotes are more apt to attack you in a pack than what wolves are. They'll observe, and then they shy away from humans.
Okay, Robin Ward asks, do they get along with the mountain giants?
The Bigfoot or the Dogman?
I would think the Bigfoot.
Okay, all of them get along with each other. And yes, I do know what the mountain giants are. And yes, they all get along for the most part.
Uh-oh. Mark,
No.
what's your question?
No, to answer that question, I see it coming. Will they have sex with most large animals? No, they do not. They aren't into bestiality, so to speak.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Sorry, Larry.
Oh,
Lori,
well,
I'm
we
very
all have
open.
our
I've been
training part.
answered. I have been questioned by Dmitry Bayanoff, bless his heart, when he was alive. He gave me the fifth degree. I mean, he interrogated me one direction and the other. I've been asked every question in the book that could possibly be asked. So I'm not shy about answering anything.
Yeah. All right. Lori Russell asked, do they understand our curiosity about them?
Yes, and I think that Lori should know that by now, of course. But okay, yeah, you know that. They understand that we're curious, and they're about as curious about us.
okay, see nudge. Have you ever seen them cloak themselves and disappear, or vice versa, and appear out of thin air?
Yes, all the time. I mean, for instance, William and I were out, what was that, 3 weekends ago? I'm trying to think when I was last off work. I've been working
Uh,
nonstop forever, it seems like. Um, we were out on a Saturday evening and we went out to this little park that's actually inside the city limits up in Knoxville. And we were interacting with them. And then we went on up into North Carolina area, and they were right on top of us, cloaked. Of course, our cameras see them when they're doing this, and I don't know how to explain this. We don't see it necessarily with our naked eye, but I was aware that they were there and in cloaked, shimmering form because I see in black and white. I don't see in color, but it's shades of black or white. That's all I can say. And I knew they were there. I knew that they were trying to cloak and shimmer, what I call shimmering, which is an in between state. And William he always is my cameraman. I do not even think to carry my phone with me half the time or anything. And he was filming, and I said, okay, we couldn't grab it out of that film, but David Hollis was able to pull the images forward so that you could see at least the outline of them.
So
I don't know how to Photoshop or any of that stuff, so it is what it is. If I put a picture out there, there it is. You know, try to interpret it.
so when and if they're cloaked, are they physically still there where you would be able to bump into them if they stood still or touch them?
Yes, yes. You're not going to. It's like running into a invisible wall.
Okay.
Okay, our friend Bama Murdoch. He's going to ask his one and only question for the night.
Okay.
If we suddenly just encountered one, what word could we say or blurt out or scream to initially communicate that we mean no ill will? Good
Just
question,
tell
Bama.
them. Just say, "I'm not here to harm you." I mean, it's as simple as that. I'm not here to harm you. I'm sorry. You know, I'm not. I mean, you no ill will. You know, but their word for meaning no harm is no hawk, which translates to no harm, and knock, which is friend.
All right. Filmer of bobcats, do they consider us weird or scary looking, especially if they see a human that looks very unlike them? Curly hair, freckles, blue eyes, funny colored hair.
Okay. I probably shouldn't do this, but
No, it's fine.
Ron Moorhead and I are going to be at a conference together in May up at West Branch that Phil Shaw and his colleagues are putting on. Back in the day, Ron and Al Barry, Warden, and Bill were all up in the high Sierras, and they got the Samurai Chatter, Bigfoot recording sounds. Wait a minute, I've got the book right here. What in the heck is
Cigar
it called?
sound.
Yeah, the Sierra sounds. I've got his book right here. One of them. Well, how do I get it? Voices in the Wilderness.
Yeah.
And this is the one where Ron himself narrates. But even with that said, okay, him and Bill ride up on their horses at one point, and the male and the female that are there are talking to each other. And Ron's trying to interact with them at the time. And the female turns to the male and she says, "They're so funny looking." And they start giggling. I mean, they're laughing their butts off at these men down there because they think we are just funny looking things, you
Right.
know.
Okay, Night Wolf asks, Janice, do you think there is a connection between the Bigfoot and aliens slash UFOs?
Okay, I've had this question before. Until I see a Bigfoot get in a UFO, which is a type of airship that I have no explanation for, and fly off in it, there is no more of a connection with those than what we are connected with them. As far as aliens, I think that there are aliens. I am not so naive as to think that we are only the only intelligent beings in the universe or in the galaxy. I think that the connection would only be that they are observing them as well as they are us.
All right. Debbie Jones asked, do they like for us to leave gifts for them, like stuffed animals and shiny objects, or what do you suggest?
They do. If you establish a type of friendship and gifting with them, now do be aware that once you start, you cannot stop. And I forewarn people of this because once you start gifting to it, especially food, if you start gifting them food, they're going to expect you to do so from here on out. And if you forget, heavens to Betsy, don't ever forget. If you want to, go to Igor Borsev's webpage, his personal homepage or whatever they call it on Facebook, and watch what happened when Daft didn't get his goodies. I mean, he attacked their. It was a military style cabin truck on wheels, of course, and Daft attacked the vehicle. I mean, he beat and pounded on it for a solid 2 hours, screaming and carrying on. Tried to get inside, destroyed the stovepipe, ripped the stairs off of the vehicle, and these are metal stairs, put them over the top of the stovepipe. It went on, and it was pretty disturbing. I mean, yeah, they were scared. I'm not going to lie. They were scared, and I was worried about their safety because Daft did not get his goodies that night. But the minute that Alex took the goods out to him, he calmed down, and that was the end of the, aggression. So they do like for us to gift with them, but as far as food, I would be very limited with that. Pebbles, feathers, little sticks and stuff, toys, that's fine, but be careful what you give them.
Okay, filmer of bobcats. If you are on a jet traveling across the country or even the sea, can they reach you even there?
Yes. I know that, and let me backtrack and explain that. I used to live in upstate New York, and this was when Fox was alive. My grandfather was in the hospital. He had emphysema and bronchitis. Nobody notified me. Fox came to me mentally, mind speaking, and told me at the time that I needed to come home. And I asked why, and he said my grandfather was sick, very bad sick. I therefore called my grandmother, and she confirmed, and I hopped on the plane, and here I came.
Okay. Filmer of Bobcats asks, why is Squeaky mind speaking to you to tell you that instead of Grumpy?
I don't have any clue. They, I have no clue. Grumpy is up in a different part. He's about 90 miles away from me, you know. So, and he isn't over here in this cavern system. He's in another area in a different place where that has caves. So maybe it's just because this particular bunch, you know, or group or family and everything are down here in these caverns.
Yeah.
Warren Hastings asked, the missing 411, he is asking, are the Bigfoot snatching people?
I would give that a 2% of people being actually taken by the Bigfoot. About 2% of the missing people were contribute that to Bigfoot.
Well, I would kind of maybe agree with that. Well, that's my intuition, because a lot of things can happen to people out there in the wilderness. And just because something happens to somebody and they don't find them, it doesn't actually mean that they were kidnapped.
Exactly. And it doesn't mean that the Bigfoot did it. It doesn't mean that the dogman did it. It doesn't mean that, a bear killed them or a cat or anything. Anything can happen. You get out there and you're hiking. It's just like back a couple of years ago, there was a man up here on the Cumberland Trail, hiking the Cumberland Trail in Tennessee, and he had a heart attack, fell down into the ravine, and it took him a couple of days to find him.
Yeah.
He was deceased by the time they found him.
Yeah.
But they did find him, and at least he had told someone where he was going to be at, But there's a lot of people that'll hit the woods, just like William Henry. I have to scold him all the time. He had an incident last night. He could have been in trouble. Took off to some place that he knew better than to go by himself to. And lo and behold, he got in between two of them, and they didn't want him there. And he ended up missing an hour and a half of time. They hit him with infrasound. I'm 100% sure they did.
Yeah. That ain't ever good.
No, it's not good. I mean, anything can happen. He also stepped on a rattlesnake at the time,
Oh.
Oh, yeah.
Good thing it was winter.
Exactly, because they're sluggish in winter. It doesn't mean that they're not out. They're just sluggish, slow moving.
Right. All right. Is that Spurl? Yep. Randy Spurl asks, hey, Janice, why do you feel the government hides the truth about Sasquatch?
Because I can't round them up and herd them onto reservations or tax them or give them identification numbers, social security numbers, or any of that stuff. They can't control them right now. They are trying. I'm 100% sure that they are trying to figure out a way to do so.
Okay. Y'all carry on. This thing just skipped again on me.
Okay, sorry.
All right. So with all this weather we're having, do most of them go into underground type caverns and things, or what? I know the area I'm from, there's not many caves or any caves. What do they do in a river bottom area?
In a river bottom area, I have seen them, and I know that people think that this is nuts, but they will dig up under the riverside bank and go in under by waterway. I don't know whether you noticed, like gopher holes and stuff in hill mounds or in under the banks. They'll go in there, get up in a dry area, just like almost like a dam, a beaver's dam,
Right.
They also do dig massive. Shoot, I can't explain. It's holes in the ground. They almost look like boxed old time soddies.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm talking about? Like the pioneers used, and they'll cover them with trees and limbs and branches and sticks and different things, and they get in there and they hold up. It's not hibernation, but they do hold up in bad weather in areas.
Okay. When I get to the end of this chat,
Mhm.
it I have to scroll up and I don't know if I'm catching everyone's questions. So if I have missed your question, we do not want to miss your question. So just re-ask it.
Mark,
And
I'll be asking a second. You carry on for 1 second. I'll be right back.
He said
all
that for
right.
about 15 seconds.
Roxanne
Yes.
asked, can you interpret the Sierra chatter? Boy, that's a good question.
Yes.
And let's see.
Absolutely. Yes. I mean, what more can I say? Yes.
What are they saying with the Sahara chatter that's going on?
Okay, I don't know which track it is because I haven't listened to it in a little bit of time. But for instance, when they come up, the men come up, and it sounds like the first thing that you hear is the high pitched voice, and the female is actually communicating there. She says, "I want some of that," and it's "I want some of that." And then the male comes in and goes, who'd really want it? Goodwill, you want? Good, you're here to talk, in his deep voice. And it goes on, and they're interacting with these guys. I mean, when you hear the one that sounds like it's screaming, moaning, and everything, it's because the male Nasari gets burned by the coffee pot because he's fiddling around with the coffee pot, which they call a wampa humpa. And they're arguing over it. And Wahump, the female, actually takes it from him, and it gets spilled upon him, that hot coffee does. And she is like, "No, back off mine." They're really arguing over this. And then she takes it over to McCormick, which is a kid, the younger, their child. And she says, "McCormick, get up. Looky here." You know, they tell their own story. Ron and the other guys never had to tell me one little bit about what went on and took place up there all those years ago.
Wow. Okay, Kurt Seltzer. Are there some Sasquatch that are more concerned with learning the ways of the world than others?
Yes, they're called the ancient ones.
And Filmer of Bobcats. Do Sasquatch originate as
Indigenous.
indigenous? Thank you. People like us, or are they from another planet?
No, they're from here. They have their own belief that they were the first creation.
Mark, you think Filmer of Bobcats is aware he's going to get to interview Janice tonight?
Okay. Let me.
Okay, there was a question up and it went away. I don't know where we.
Yeah, I think that was the other one.
Okay.
Kevin Carney asked, do they use celestial constellations as a form of navigation or timekeeping?
Yes, they do. If you'll hang on just a minute, let me get you something.
All
Just
right.
a second.
Mark, talk amongst yourselves.
Okay, Larry. I got a feeling we're about to have a little bit of show and tell coming up.
Yep.
Yeah, you are.
You might learn you something, Mark.
I might.
That's what we try to do, is learn something. And maybe they won't call us stupid humans next time we go out there.
Okay. For instance, can you all see this? Let's see if I can get. No, that's part of it.
Okay.
A little more to your left.
Okay. All right. This is a constellation of their year, their calendar year. It looks like a medicine wheel, for instance.
Uh-huh.
Can you see that?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
She did.
Okay. This, for instance, okay, here we go. This is our February. This is the month that we are in right now. Each one of these little dips and points are different constellations in the night sky. The center point this is our moon, okay? And you go out from it, and there's Venus and Mars and different stars that they can see in the constellation.
Okay.
Am I making any sense, guys?
Yeah.
I understand what you're saying. I'm just not that well versed on constellations.
Oh, okay. Well,
I'm sure somebody that is knows exactly, what's where.
mm-hmm. But I'm just taking this for instance, and this is stuff that has never been published. There are a few people that have this limited manuscript that I have never published. Me and a bunch of my colleagues and anthropologists and cultural anthropologists and different things have worked for many, many years with them. I mean, actually with them to try to understand them better.
Yeah.
I'm not your average Joe, get out in the woods and go beat the woods for Bigfoot. I want to know who these people are.
And let me ask you this. Have any of the scientific people that you have been out with learned anything from the Sasquatch that man didn't know already? That they presented?
Yes.
I figured that.
Okay, Jerry from EEP Pullen's videos. Will adult couples stay loyal to one another or stray away from time to time?
For the most part, they stay loyal. The women, they have laws. Men are able to take as many wives as they can provide for, so to speak. Women are only allowed to have one husband. Now they do practice divorce if they simply cannot get along. They call it tossing their partner away, and they simply separate and go their separate ways. That being said, but for instance, if a wife cheats on her husband, there are severe consequences that is going to happen. They'll cut the nose off of the woman. If she's caught doing it again, she gets different body parts cut and scarred. Men, however, they, like I said, they can sort of cheat on their wife and get away with it. It's double standards.
Yeah, it sounds like it. All right. I don't know if you've been asked any questions by Filmer of Bobcats, but he asked, why do some of them behave like animals, get mad if you skip a feeding, knock over outhouses, and eat the contents, etc.?
Because they're like, how to explain it? While they're highly, highly intelligent, they act like a bunch of spoiled brat children.
Yeah.
And yes, they will have temper tantrums, and they will do things that we wouldn't even believe or think about doing. For instance, I don't know how many times I have emptied the cat litter box, taken it out, put it in the garbage, and they go and get the cat poo and eat it.
Oh.
Heavens to Betsy. I mean, it's no wonder they stink to high heaven at times,
Well, this kind of ties in with that. Do Sasquatch have elaborate tantrums like chimps and human toddlers?
Yes, absolutely so. And they're big, and they can push their weight around. Trust me. I mean, it's not fun to see a Bigfoot flop over on its back, kick its legs and arms,
I'm sure it ain't. All right, Kevin. Nope. Michael Rice asks, Miss Carter, can you talk about the mountain giants?
What I know and what I think people are talking about when they're trying to relate the mountain giants are more of the ancient ones and the ones that are true giants. These guys are anywhere between about 20 to 40 foot tall. A lot of people think, oh, you're making up this crap. No, we're not. Um, there are right now, we are dealing in the Urals, Igor and them are dealing with a 20-foot plus tall, 500 and something year old mountain giant.
Wow.
Um, they they have a longer lifespan than what we do. They have different measurements from what we do. It's more like biblical times back before Noah's flood.
Okay.
And I know that people are going to think I'm making up tall tales, but until you actually encounter one and you know what's going on, it's not going to make a whole lot of sense to anybody.
Hey, Janice, we're on here talking about Bigfoot, so you know what I mean? Most other people think we're crazy anyway.
Well, that's very true.
So,
I don't care. I could care less. I mean, I know what I know.
All right. Filmer Bobcats asked, did your troop get upset when your grandfather died and quit feeding them?
No, because they actually knew what was going on. It took me a while to realize that they did know, because what happened is my grandfather passed away, but right before he passed away, he before he went into the hospital for the last time, he was senile at the time. He died of cancer, colon cancer. He managed to get out of the house and get into the middle of the road. Fox stood over the top of him, and one of the neighbors, his name was Kevin, came around. There's like a bend in the road that goes around. It's really sharp curve. And he came around that curve, and Fox was standing there over to the top of my grandfather, protecting him to keep anybody from running over him with a vehicle. And why he didn't pick him up, I have no clue, but he didn't. So we did manage to get out there and Kevin and get my grandfather back inside the house and everything. And and I do know that they knew that my grandfather was deceased, because they went up in I want to say it was 2002, I believe. I had moved back to the farm at that point, to do try to interact with them for Dimitri and Igor and a bunch of people that were working with me and helped me. And I had a feeding station established where I'd leave them food every evening, and they would put little gifts and stuff in the bucket for me. And they went up and took the flower pot that I had taken a vase of, I call it flower pot, a vase of flowers, and set them on my grandfather's grave. Now, they kept bringing these little artificial flowers and sticking them in the bucket. And I was like, where in the world are they getting these, And it didn't register until they actually brought the vase.
Right.
And I'm like, oh, heavens to Betsy. They are visiting my grandfather's grave.
Huh.
Okay, Body American asks, how many nests have you found in all?
How many nests? Oh, my gosh.
Nests.
Oh, good Lord. Into the hundreds, possibly thousands.
All right. Kirk Seltzer asked, do the Sasquatch have ways that they worship the Creator, like praying, bowing, or howling?
Yes. All of them.
Okay. Kelly Carnes asks, is the Bigfoot sense of smell more attuned than man dogs?
Okay, in all honesty, I can't answer that because it would just be an opinion of my own. But knowing the difference between our type of human and our canine dogs, pets, the dog's sense of smell is greater than the humans. But now this is just purely speculation. I cannot answer that. We have not done studies of that nature, and there's no accurate way to answer that.
Miss D, Lady in the Woods, asks, what happens when you name them? Do they get upset?
No, because I can't pronounce a lot of their names, so I give them nicknames.
Okay.
It doesn't bother.
Okay, Kurt Seltzer asks, what are some rituals you have done with them or rituals that had you do for them?
Okay, for instance, we went to the summer solstice one time in an area where they gathered, and I had to put orc, which is a red type paint, in the split of my hair, and it was like showing my respect that I was beneath God, if that makes sense. I also had to paint my face in a certain way that they wanted me to in order to be able to participate in this uh, type of observation, that this was the summer solstice when everything was in abundance. If that makes any sense whatsoever. They do drumming, they chant, they uh, you know interact with each other, they play games. It's a good time.
Is it more similar to Native Americans powwow type thing, or?
It is in a lot of ways.
Okay. Marla Adams Green asks, why do they watch children? Do they take them, and why? Thanks, Janice.
They have a fascination with our children, and yes, do not put it past them to kidnap a child. Do not trust them. I don't care if you've known them for entire lifetime. Do not trust them to not take off with your child.
Okay.
Why would they take them, and what would they do with them?
A lot of them, and this was brought up recently in Val's group, but any rate, what they do is they will try to replace their own children with one of our children, or they think that if we allow our children outside to play and not supervise them and watch over them or have a babysitter looking after them 100% of the time, that we are neglective parents.
Yeah.
And they feel like, okay, we'll go in and we'll take this child and we'll raise it as our own because we're going to provide for it and we're going to protect it and keep it safe.
That makes sense.
Okay, Ruger Ridge. Why would they remove the head of a fawn, then leave the fawn?
They needed it to make a burial, adorn a grave with of a very important person. I know that sounds horrible, but that's what they did with the fawn's head. They can be wasteful. They can be wasteful.
Yeah, but there's a purpose, a higher
There's
purpose.
a purpose for it, and it's not anything satanic or anything of that nature. It's just that is what they would adorn. They would put it on a pole, like a totem pole type of stick, over that individual's gravesite.
Okay. All right. Linda Bennett asks, do they tell you their names?
Yes, a lot of them do. But they have three names. Every individual has three names. The one that they share with friends, the one that is reserved for family only, and the one that is between them and the Creator God.
Okay. Okay. My chat has just skipped back up. So if I have missed your question, then re-ask it. And Kurt Seltzer asked, do Sasquatch have special ways that they worship the Creator?
Yes. Again, it would be what we consider rituals, but they do observe that they were created like we were.
Now, you mentioned summer solstice and winter and that. Are they on like a pagan worship type? Or?
No, they actually worship a higher up being, and I'm raising my hands because it's hard to describe. They don't worship idols. They know better. They don't worship the stars. They don't worship the sun. They don't worship the moon. There is an essence out there that they call and we call God.
Okay.
Pronounce that, Larry.
I got you. Timbaz u Venerio. Do they heal rapidly or heal each other's injuries?
They can, depending on the injury. Excuse me. And yes, they do have medicine men or medicine women that do practice medical procedures if one of them does get injured. For instance, Grumpy managed to get shot back years ago, back in 2003 or 4. I can't remember exactly which. In the shoulder by a hunter that was chasing him with dogs at the time that we were up there. There was a bunch of us up there, and we blew a dog whistle, and Grumpy came running, charging up the valley, up the hill, mountainside, and ran behind us. He was scared to death this time. And that was a breakthrough at that time, because before that, the reason we called him Grumpy is because every time we went to visit him, he came up and he bluff charged our butts,
Yeah.
And he was grumpy about it. He'd be, mumbling under his breath, and you couldn't understand what he was saying. But that said, he came to us for protection because we'd always used that silent dog whistle to communicate with him if he was far away and let him know that we were there. And he came running to us. He had been shot in the shoulder, and we were concerned, but he was not going to let us get close enough to doctor him.
Yeah.
And he himself went to some of the medicine people of their kind, and they healed him some way. I know that they used willow bark, comfrey, and something else.
Huh.
I'll pronounce Lori's name, Larry. Lori Russell asked, what is the average age for them to die?
Usually around 120.
Man, they see a lot of stuff then.
But now, some of them, they can die younger. It depends on health. They can be stillborn, for heaven's sakes. Some of them, they claim that they can live extended lifespans. How do I or any of my colleagues accurately say that, yes, they are this old? They are 500 something years old. Only thing we have to go by is what they're telling us.
Right.
But if I wish that we could have gotten up the picture of Yesha or Greg, where the anomaly of that light is going across in front of him in that picture where he's sitting on the stump. That's the type of energy and essence they give out at about all times.
Yeah. All right. Filmer of bobcats, does it cause them any kind of psychological pain if we touch them or they touch us?
Yes and no. It can, if we are putting off a really negative energy, and it can cause us the same if they are putting off some sort of negative energy. If they come up and count coup on us, and the teenagers love to do this, especially the boys, to run up in behind you and touch you and then run away without you being able to turn in time to see them do so. But if they have a type of negative energy, and they touch you, it's rather disturbing. I don't know how to explain it, but you can actually feel it. It's not a pleasant feeling.
Yeah.
Okay, I just want to remind our audience that we only have about 10 or 15 minutes left to ask questions. And Mike Stinton asked, where are these giants located and how do they stay undetected at that size?
For instance, we have an area here in Tennessee, and it runs up into Kentucky, for instance, and it's called Big South Fork National River Basin Wildlife Recreation Area. You know, it's part of a national forest. That gorge covers over 120,000 acres.
Yeah.
There are places that they can go that we are not going to get to.
Yeah, Larry and I have actually spent a lot of time there.
Oh, okay. So you know exactly what I'm
Yeah.
talking about.
Yeah.
Yep.
Mighty American asked, what's your scariest encounter you have been in? And did you need new britches? Because I would.
My scariest encounter happened over at Jordan Lake in Durham, North Carolina. And the ones over there are like a more primitive mentality, and they meant business. And I am not ashamed to say that we got out of there. We left everything, all our camping gear, the food, the entire 9 yards. I got my daughter and the dog and my cousin, and we got in the truck and we demanded to be let out of that camping ground because there was a male and 2 females, and the male charged right across the far at us.
Huh.
Wow. Now
They put this Australian shepherd that was not afraid of them ordinarily, of any of the Bigfoot. He had been around Fox and everybody else. They put this dog on the ground by zapping him with infrasound.
Whoa. Now, you kind of asked this question before, but I haven't seen Tammy ask anything. So maybe you can elaborate. Do they believe in God or do they have different beliefs?
They believe in God. They believe in the devil. They believe in angels. They believe in higher beings. They believe in different beings than what we have knowledge about, I guess is the way of saying it. But they only worship God. They also believe in Jesus Christ.
All right. Ozark Mountain Sasquatch asks, do you recognize the word Ahu? If so, what does it mean?
Ahu. Ahu.
Yeah.
Ahu.
I mean, they do it. What they're asking when you hear that, they're wanting to know who you are. Simply tell them your name. It's a greeting.
Kurt Seltzer.
All right.
Great questions from Kurt. Please tell us about the ancient ones.
Okay, the ancient ones are the ones that have been here. They are the wise men, the renowned ones. They have a lot of wisdom. They are the head of council, so to speak, like our president would be. That, you know, he takes into consideration all of Congress and Senate and everything, what they have to say. But, and I'm using this as a structural image. But in the end, the ancient ones have the say over what is going to take place, what is happening. They are like, the president has basically the last say in what's going to happen to our country, supposedly. Now, that does not mean that the ancient ones always have the last word. The higher up does. He has to consider everybody else's voice in the matter.
Mr. Dever asks, how do they teach their young to cloak?
Not all of them can cloak. But hang on just 1 second. I'm sorry. I have TMJ and everything going on with my mouth, and it's getting really dry, so that's why I was coughing and sneezing. They start when they're very young to start teaching them how to do that, and how they call it bending energy, bending light. It's a matter of teaching them how to turn in to the light or out of the light. And it's sort of like a mirror and light trick. And then once they get it, then they start teaching them how to draw inward that inner essence, that inner being that you are. It's like our aura, how to draw it inward or how to project it forth, But they start teaching them at a very young age. And like I said, not all of them are capable of cloaking or shimmering or doing this. It depends on the individual, how they learn whether or not they can do this.
All right. Audrey and Jamie, what do they say their DNA is?
Okay. I'm not so certain that they understand DNA the way we do, but what they say and who they have told me that they are from God. God created them just the same way he did us, but they are the first creation of a mankind, and that they are closer to what we would consider the angels, or the like Adam and Eve or Noah, in relation to God than what we are today.
Okay, Linda Bennett. Do they tell you their names? Is that where you get their names?
Yes, they tell me their names, and that's where I get most of them's names. But it's like Winnie Bojo. I shorten his name to Boo or Bo, when I'm talking about him. Nikki Pisha, who is Nikki, I shorten her name. It makes it simpler. Fox's name was Hockey, and I can't even pronounce it right, so I simply call him Fox, and the list goes on and on and on. And some of these really are complicated words to pronounce because it's a different language from mine.
Right.
There you go, Larry.
Did you give me that one on purpose?
No, sir.
Tim Baz asked, have you ever witnessed a structure being built?
Yes. And
wow.
Yes, I have, and I know how they do this, and it's based on physics, trigonometry, algebra, and their own mathematical understanding of math. I don't know how to explain it, because in there they have a tendency to use the old Hebrew math standards as opposed to what we use today. For instance, their foot is 18 inches, for our foot is 12 inches. This is just an example of the difference.
Okay, Missy, I am sorry if I have been missing your question. It's just the way that this yard dog does this chat, and when I get to the bottom, It does not let me go back up and see where I was at before. But she asked, can you please explain how they use our graveyards? And that's a great question.
Okay, what they will do, and especially with some of these older family plot graveyards, they will actually bury their own dead on the outskirts or actually inside the graveyard. I've seen it happen. I know where there are some graves in areas that, yes, they are right there alongside our own, you know. Um, they do consider it hallowed ground or sacred ground. They are very respectful of the dead. It doesn't matter whether it's our kind, their kind, or an alien, you know. Not that an alien's buried in our graveyards. They do usually have someone that keeps watch over the graves. And if someone goes in and tries to disrespect graves because they've watched us, you know, we've had grave robbers that go in and dig up people and try to get their valuables that they're buried with. They have watched that. They know that that happens. So they keep watch to try to keep people from coming in and digging their deceased up, being disrespectful.
Kevin Carney asks, are guardians assigned to watch over the gravesite or of elders, ancient ones?
Yeah, they do have in their areas, for instance, they do have a watcher. I took a good friend of mine who's a judge out with me to a location where one was buried. And of course, they were very aware at the time. I mean, they even found the footprint in the whole 9 yards, but where this one was actually right in front of us and then circled round in behind us, you know, watching us the entire time. And I told him, I said, they're watching us because they want to know that we're going to be respectful of this gravesite. You know, so yeah, they generally have someone that watches over the graves, someone that watches over the kids, someone, you know, and it's very cultural, social structure.
That must be why there's a lot of interaction around the Indian burial grounds, mounds.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
Kurt Seltzer asks, do they have special keepers of their written history?
Yes. Yes, they do. For instance, Grumpy is one of the keeper, what they call the keeper of the word. He keeps the history. He writes it, and these are actually glyphs that are carved in stone. In another area where I've got a picture of a huge slab of rock that looks like a stone tablets. There's another one in that area that is the keeper of the word. It's their written history in stone that's etched out on stone of the events that has taken place in this area. Then they also write on smaller rocks and boulders, you know, telling day-to-day life, you know, what's going on. Grumpy and I have for years had what I call it a writing rock. What else can I call it? You know, he'll write something on there. I'll go visit him. I know where to find him. And then I'll write something, you know, like next time I come, I'm going to leave you this, or I'm going to come here, or I'm going to do this. And he knows where to sense whatsoever. It's like, for instance, one of the last, well, not the last time I was up there, because the last time I was up there with a group of researchers, but the time before last, I went up to visit, and he wanted me to bring him cinnamon, apples. What else was it he wanted? Holly. What was it that time that we went up to Grumpy's and he had told us that the hunters were in the woods? On the rock, on the writing rock. What he wanted? Cinnamon, apples, popcorn for the kids. Oh, garlic cloves, yeah. Anyway, and a soda pop, a Coke, to be precise. So I took this big 2-liter and all this other junk that he wanted, you know, and he told me that there was hunters on that rock, he had written that there was hunters in his particular area, and he had gone over to another area, and I was to bring the gifts that I had for him over to this other area and leave them beside a certain fallen tree, and that's exactly what I did.
Okay. Joe
And William
Park.
Henry was with us at the time, so you know he can vouch for this.
Joe
This
Park.
is that slab in the other area that I'm talking about that I'm standing in front of here on this picture on the right-hand side.
Yeah.
Okay. Joe Parker asks, do they eat people?
I personally have never seen one or witnessed one that has. There are rumors, there are ancient tales of Native Americans where they were cannibalistic. They ate people.
All right, Kirk asks, what do they say happens when we die? What's their belief of afterlife?
They believe that the soul goes on. They think they have three souls. That's three. The reason for three names. But they think that there is an eternal soul. That is our essence. That is our energy. That is what we have lost the ability to bend the light and shimmer and cloak. That's what they think goes on, and it's forever.
Okay. Sister of the Moon, Miss Barbara Locke asks, how do they feel about female researchers? Good question, Barb.
It depends, because some women who go out there in the field and do this type of research, they are more inclined to interact with a woman, because a lot of women have children. They're motherly in nature. They are protective. They don't give off that He-Man effect. I'm sorry, I'm not picking on you guys, but you guys got that testosterone going on. I'm the big and I'm the bad, and I'm going to protect everybody. But that said, there are women that go out, and sometimes I give off that bad vibe. I know I do. That go out and like, I'm in control of this situation, and I'm not having a good hair day today or whatever. And then they aren't as likely to interact.
Yeah.
But for the most part, especially the males. Now, the females, there can be a little bit of a jealousy thing going on, but with women researchers, because the females feel like, hey, maybe they're after their husband or something, But the males are more apt to take and interact with women, and the females, they might stand off until they, know that you're not out there to do something to their children or something, and then they'll interact.
Okay, Scott, Can Spot asks, so they are the original humans?
Yes. They think that in the Bible, okay, I'm just taking the King James Version of the Bible, for instance. In the beginning, God created mankind. And he says, let us create mankind in our image, in our likeness. They think that they are that creation. Now you come down to Adam, and Adam is created from the dust of the earth, of the ground, of the earth. And God breathes a soul into his, or breathes breath into his nostrils, and Adam becomes a living soul. Eve is supposedly taken from the rib of Adam and created as a helpmate to Adam, and they're placed in the Garden of Eden. Now, we're going to jump ahead. Cain kills Abel. Cain gets whatever mark put upon him so that he's identified as, a sinner. All right. He goes to the land of Nod to take a wife. He doesn't marry his sister. Therefore, right then and there, that tells you that there were other people here on this planet, on Earth. Otherwise, Abel wouldn't have married anybody. He wouldn't have gone to the land of Nod. And what is the land of Nod? Well, if you go back in your history and start studying the geography and everything of that area that was the seat of mankind's existence, you come to learn that there were giants in those days, that there were giant people, you know. So, yeah, and there were hairy people and all this other stuff. They didn't look like we do today. So that's who they think they are.
Okay. We are seriously running out of time. Let's see if we can go through these questions, the remaining questions, as quick as possible. Kurt Seltzer asked, do they have scholars?
Not in the same sense that we do, no. But they have very wise people, very wise individuals.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, they're saying.
Uh-oh.
Here you go, Larry. I'm going to let you ask the questions, Larry.
Jane Skidmore asks, have they ever offered to heal your TMJ or other health problems? And
Yes, they have many times. It's a long story. I have a back injury from years ago being dumped off the horse. I have no T12 vertebra, and there's a big hunk off my L1. I was told that I would be paralyzed for the rest of my life. I am a determined person. And back at the time, I was sent home in a body cast for 18 months. At that time, Fox and Sheba laid their hands on me. And I know this is going to sound like I'm making up bullshit, but I'm not. I don't know what they did. Maybe it was just my belief in God Almighty and that, yes, I could do this, but I can walk.
Yeah.
You know, and the doctors and the surgeons and everything said, this is a miracle. There is no way you should be able or capable of walking. I can run, for Pete's sake.
Well, that's good, no doubt. All right. Lori Russell asks, are the sounds we think are wood knocks them actually clapping or making the sound with their mouth?
Yes and no. I have a video of one of their knocking trees. I don't know how to explain. We call them totems. But anyway, what they do is they'll use a hollow tree and they'll put little holes in it. And all they have to do is thump that with their hands, and it sounds like wood knocks because it echoes. And they'll usually put it up in a place that it will echo out. They'll make the hoops from that, and they use the different little holes, to make the hoops. And the higher up they get, the further out the sound carries. But they can make the sounds of clapping with their hands. It sounds like wood knocks. Also, clucking with their tongue in the back of their throat.
Yeah. All right. Deborah Irvin asks, is there incest or child abuse among them?
Yes, but it's very seldom.
All right. Overbuilt Automotive says, have you been to Frozen Head State Park in Wartburg, Tennessee?
Too many times to talk about.
All right. Katie G, do you believe Judacula Rock is Sasquatch glyphs?
I don't know which one she's talking about exactly. If she could, somebody get me a photograph, I could tell you.
Okay. Kirk asks, is there a way to contact you about an outing together? Do you do any public group outings?
I do, and I also get asked to a lot of events or a lot of outings. The best way is just to friend me on Facebook and drop me a message. I usually accept anybody as a friend. Sometimes I don't always get to it the day that you request, but I do try to get to them. And if you're nice to me and you don't try to start a big ruckus or something, I don't have a problem with being your friend.
All right.
Okay, this is our last question.
Mr. B3PO. Janice, how do you feel about spending your lifetime around Sasquatch? Any regrets?
Yeah, there are regrets. Sometimes, I call it feeling sorry for myself. You know, there are times that I wish that I just had someone else's life, a normal life, if that makes any sense. But then I have no clue what a normal life is, so why bother? But there are times that I regret because a lot of this is taken away from my children and time with my children and but it's the same as with any job. If you work and you're a parent, you don't get to spend a good deal of time with your children at home when they're little.
Right.
That's more of the type of regrets I have than I regret being around them or having to deal with them or anything of that nature.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, unfortunately, we're out of time, and there's probably some more questions.
There's a bunch.
So if you have questions, please tonight or tomorrow, put them in the comment section. Miss Janice was so good about answering questions the last time that she was on the show. And so we want to thank you so much, Miss Janice.
Yes.
Thank you.
And give you this opportunity to say any final thoughts that you would like to say.
Be safe out there. Always let someone know where you are going and when you expect to be back. Do not go out there alone unless you absolutely have to, because it's not safe. There's more things in those woods than the Bigfoot to be concerned about.
Right.
Good information. Larry, do you have any final thoughts?
Oh, I thank Janice for coming on here. She fielded every question candidly and kindly and answered every one of them. And we thank her for her time and the information she shared with us for sure.
And if they do put the questions in the comment, I will try to address them. Do know that I work night shift. I don't get a day off until next Thursday. Yeah. And sometimes I have to do overtime because of the way things are right now. But I will try to my best to get to those questions and get those answered.
So be patient, everybody.
We thank everybody, and we thank Miss Janice, and we thank everyone for the questions and for tuning in. And we will see you again next week. Night, footers.
Night.
Beast TV would like to welcome all of our new Facebook members. Be sure to check out our pictures and videos of possible evidence. And if you haven't checked out the Files tab, there is a wealth of information that you may find beneficial. If you would like to support Beast TV, check out our gear. We have coffee mugs, face masks, gaiters, shirts, and tank tops. The link is pinned at the top of the comment section. Everything is always marked down 20%. So come check out our junk. We want to thank all of our new subscribers and our faithful followers. Also, be sure to check out our field evidence videos and our sister channel, Beast of the Woods. That's Larry's channel. If you want to help us out, make sure that you are subscribed. Click the thumbs up button, ring the bell, and leave us a comment. We would love to hear from you. Thanks again to each of you for watching, and we will see you again. Same bat time, same bat channel. Night night, footers.
This has been a Sawdust production.